All right, go ahead and find a cozy spot. One of my favorite cozy spots is on a wooden dock on a bay at sunset. When I was a kid, I spent a lot of summers on a long wooden dock on the Chesapeake Bay, which is the largest bay in the United States. It's in Virginia and Maryland. And one of the things I loved to do on that dock on the bay was go crabbing. And the way we used to go crabbing was you'd get a long piece of string, and on the end of that string, you would tie a chicken neck. And you would throw the chicken neck into the bay, plunk, wait for it to sink down, hold on to the end. And after a little while, you'd check it. And if it was a lot heavier than it was when you tied the chicken neck on, you knew that there was a crab on the other end. You'd start to slowly pull it in, slowly pull it in. And sometimes you'd feel it get light. That meant that the crab jumped off. But sometimes the crab would stay on the string all the way up to the top. And you could look in, you could just see the top of the water, the shape of the crab. And sometimes it was a great big crab. You got really excited. Sometimes it was a little one. You'd let them swim away. But if you had a nice big crab on the other end, you'd call your friend and he would come over with a net on a long pole. You could try and do it yourself too if you were an expert crabber. And your friend would come over, they would put the net in the water slowly, slowly, slowly. Sometimes the crab would see the net coming and scuttle away. But sometimes you would get the net underneath the crab and scoop him up. And then you had a nice, big, fresh crab in your net. And later, you'd have a nice, big, fresh crab in your belly for dinner. Tonight's story is about the Chesapeake Bay. It's called Osprey Adventure by Jennifer Keats Curtis. A bright flash of color caught Pete's eye. As Dad drove over the bridge, Pete spied a blue trash bag poking out among the big sticks stacked untidily above channel marker 8. An osprey nest, he said, recognizing the huge, messy pile of limbs. But why is there trash in it? While making nests, ospreys pick up whatever they can get their talons on, Dad said. They like to frame the outside of the nest with hard sticks, but they like to make the inside soft. Ospreys gather and lay down soft grasses and leaves. They also pick up garbage that they think will make a nice lining for their nestlings. Besides bags, nests might contain old teddy bears, dolls, dog toys, and used paper plates, even clothes that people have thrown away. Nests contain fishing line, balloon ribbon, or kite string. These materials can be dangerous to the birds. They can twist around chicks and adults, tying them down so that they can't move or eat. Worried about the trash in the osprey's nest, Pete and his dad, whom everybody called Doc, decided to get in their boat and go around to the channel marker for a better look. Using binoculars, Pete focused on the nest. He could see the blue bag flapping like a flag. A shredded black plastic bag was also snarled among the jumbled sticks on one side. A dirty yellow braided rope trailed from the other side. One big stick was wrapped in purple string, and an orange blob was a balloon that had popped and melted. But what most bothered Pete was the big wad of tangled green fishing line near the top of the nest. Suddenly, Pete nearly dropped his binoculars. He heard a loud, shrill call. Shark! 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 The big brown bird with the white belly looked like another bird of prey, an eagle. But this raptor's wings flapped slowly. Pete noticed a bend at the bird's elbow and the black wrist mark that looked like a bracelet. He was sure it was an osprey. The bird circled. Pete saw a small fish in his talons. Ospreys are great fishermen. They are often called fish hawks. Their rough, curved feet are perfect for catching and holding slippery fish, which is just about all they eat. They dive feet first into the water, then quickly snap their talons around the fish and hold it tight before carrying it off. As Pete adjusted his binoculars, the osprey circled the nest twice, flapped his wings slowly, and hovered like a helicopter. He plunked down onto the side of the nest next to the mother osprey. She stood up and flapped her wings, then snatched the fish away from the father. He flew away, perhaps to look for more lunch. Using her razor-sharp beak, the mother osprey tore the fish into bite-sized pieces for the nestlings. As Doc steered the boat closer to the marker, Pete saw a black and white speckled head pop up over the top of the sticks. The nestling's curved black beak opened to take the fish from its mother. Pete and his dad became worried. Usually, there are 2 to 3 chicks in a nest. Could other babies be in that nest? Could they be tangled in the line? While Pete tied a line to the marker so that the boat would not drift away, Doc looked up the battered, rusted metal marker. He saw more trash, a shredded black plastic bag and red sticky tape, and the bundled fishing line that had concerned Pete. He needed to climb up the marker and look inside the nest. Although laws do not allow most people to climb markers or even touch ospreys, Doc is a biologist, wildlife expert, who works with the birds. From his boat, Doc often visits markers, pilings, buoys, and platforms along the river. He checks osprey nests for trash, especially fishing line and balloon string that can hurt adults and nestlings. Because he is studying and helping these raptors, Doc has special permission to climb the markers and to touch the birds when necessary. As Doc began climbing the ladder, the mother osprey peered down at him with banded yellow eyes. She flapped her wings and ruffled her dark brown feathers. She tried to look as big as possible so that Doc would go away, but he continued climbing. Abruptly, the mother osprey hunkered down, then flew away, shrieking loudly. She nervously continued circling the nest, screeching, but Doc ignored her. He needed to see if that line was in her nest. Just over the top of the ladder, Doc saw the young bird who had eaten the fish. The nestling also tried to scare Doc away. He ruffled the feathers on the back of his head. They looked spiky. While he was too young to fly, he tried to flap his speckled wings. He also squawked loudly, but Doc wasn't afraid. He had work to do. By now, Doc could see that there was indeed fishing line in the nest. It was tangled around the other nestling's beak. What a mess! The young bird lay motionless on one side of the nest and looked at Doc with his orange eyes. His sibling continued to cry loudly and fluff his feathers, showing that he was upset. Moving slowly and carefully, Doc pulled a knife out of his pocket. He kneeled on the platform and leaned over the nest. He spoke soothing words to the frightened baby birds. "Don't worry, little guys. Everything will be fine," he said. The osprey mother continued orbiting her nest, calling to her nestlings. Doc gently began pulling the twisted line and cutting cautiously at the knots. He pulled away one piece of line after another until the baby's beak was completely free. Doc breathed a sigh of relief. The nestling would be fine. Doc put that snarled mess in his pocket. He climbed back down the ladder to Pete, who was anxiously waiting at the bottom. Together, they watched the shrieking mother osprey circle the marker twice more. Then, she settled back into the nest to check on both babies. She turned her bright yellow eyes towards Pete and Doc and shrilled, "Shark! Shark!" as if to thank them for their help. Pete and Doc went away happily. Soon, the father osprey would return to the nest with another fish, and both nestlings would get another meal. By September, the baby would be able to migrate south with the rest of his family. Pete slung his arm around Doc, and the two headed for home, glad that their family had helped the Osprey family. The end. Remember, you are perfect, just the way you are. Have the best dreams. Go out tomorrow and be your best you. Good night.